Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of BiblioTech on Air. I'm Rosanna.
I'm Ruby.
And I'm Israel.
And today we are going to be talking to you about a comic that we all recently read, Eat the Rich. And then we're going to get into some back to school talk about memorable books from our youth and in grade school that just stood out, whether you read it for like class or in the library. So we're going to start with our discussion about the comic that we all recently read, called Eat the Rich, available on both Cloud Library and Hoopla. It is written by Sarah Gailey, illustrated by Pius Bach, colored by Roman Titov, and the cover art is done by Kevin Tong, who Israel knows quite a bit about.
Yeah, I collect alternative movie posters, and he's one of the main artists who creates those posters. So I have several prints by him. There's this one specifically for the show Hannibal that I hope to get. But that's another conversation.
Which, speaking of Hannibal, this book is definitely for more mature audiences.
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
also, spoiler alert for anyone who plans on reading it, because we will be talking about this book quite a bit. It's about rich people and doing terrible things, only throw poor people into the mix. So with that,
We're going to go ahead and get right into the summary. So if you are wanting to read it, you should stop now. So the story revolves around Joey, a young woman who is in a relationship with Astor, a man from a wealthy family. As Joey is introduced to Astor's affluent and elitist world, she attends his family's extravagant summer estate. Joey is initially excited and nervous about becoming a part of Astor's privileged life. However, as she becomes more integrated into this world, she starts to notice odd and unsettling behaviors among Astor's family and their rich friends. As the story unfolds, Joey discovers that the opulent lifestyle of the rich and powerful in this society is maintained through dark, horrifying means. The title, Eat the Rich, becomes a literal twist, as it's revealed that the wealthy sustain their lifestyles through cannibalism, consuming the bodies of the less privileged. Joey is faced with a moral dilemma. Will she become part of this horrific tradition to secure her place in this high society, or will she reject it all and expose the monstrous secrets of the rich? So anyways, yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's what it's all about. Pretty crazy. What were y'all thoughts while reading the book?
enjoyed it. Very quick read, but very enjoyable.
Yeah, I really liked it. I had my critiques.
It was very, very fast.
Mhm.
Like 5 issues, 25 pages each issue. You can read it within an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Most likely.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very interesting, like we all said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the most part, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really read horror comics all that much.
Mm-hmm.
So this one would probably be like one of my first. So it was a good gateway into it.
I'm trying to think if I've read any other horror comics. Nothing comes to mind because I mainly read like Marvel and DC type of stuff. I dabble into like alternative, comic books and things like that. But I think this would probably be the first one as well. As I stated, I really liked it. I had my critiques. There's a time jump in the comic series. I feel like if the time jump was earlier on, maybe in the first issue or maybe the second issue, and then we see past of like, how she develops a relationship with one of the characters. What's her name? Petal?
Petal,
how
I
that
think.
forms. We see a little bit of it, but then bam, at the end they like each other and they kiss.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to seen that relationship more developed. I would also would have liked to have seen the relationship develop between Joey and Astor's mom, because once Joey finds out that they're cannibals, Astor's mom kind of takes her under her wing because she says, I understand where you're coming from.
I was
because
like you.
I was you, right? And she also states too that before they would just straight up kill them and eat them.
Yeah. There was no contract or anything.
Yeah, there was no contract, because that's another thing too, that the help
Now
they're
they knowingly get into it.
now they knowingly sign a contract that states, once you retire, we have the liberty to eat you. And it's part of their tradition, apparently, a part of Astor's family's tradition to eat individuals. I don't know if it necessarily has to be underprivileged individuals. And it doesn't talk. Another critique that I have is that it doesn't really say where that tradition comes from.
Yeah, like who started it?
How long has it been going?
And like the whole reason why it's still been going is because once you eat, like you need to keep fulfilling that need, because or else you'll go hungry and starve to
like
death.
an insatiable hunger
Yeah.
that's constantly there. And that's another thing that they have the help. Once they sign the contract, they also have them eat humans, so that they can now have that insatiable hunger, and that they need to stay on the estate.
Right, like they're binded to them, not just through contract, but I guess literally through blood.
It was a really cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
I've been meaning to read it for the longest time, so I'm glad we were able to. What did you think, Rosanna, overall?
I really enjoyed it. Like you said, there's definitely some things they could have expanded more upon, but in my mind, I'm like, it's a 5-issue thing. Like, it's
Yeah, I get you.
there's gonna be a lot that's condensed. Also, I kind of want to touch on like the relationship thing that developed. So that, like, to me, it wasn't super unrealistic, because the way I see it, Joey kind of found like refuge in Petal, and while we didn't see them bond a whole lot like on the pages, when you find someone like-minded with you, and you know, just in all the craziness, there's this one person, like,
definitely
you
trauma
can
bond.
exactly, you
Yeah, because
know.
they stated that.
Yeah.
I think Joy told Petal, like, I thought I was going crazy. I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm glad that I have you.
Yeah, and then the fact that she was just kind of like, what's going on with Aster, like, I can see how that relationship would have developed. You know, again, we didn't see a whole lot of it on the pages, which would have been nice, but it's not something that kind of came out of the blue, you know, that just
definitely
came out
not.
randomly.
So another thing that comes to my mind on what you were saying, Rosanna, is that in that first issue, they state that you shouldn't talk to the help, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't that. But then in order for a relationship to be developed, you have to talk to them. So she's secretly talking to Petal, you know? And so that's where my critique is coming from, that we have to infer a lot of this. And while I understand they can like trauma bond and things like that, especially over something like as graphic as being eaten or eating people, I don't know, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more substantial. Because also too, we see more of a relationship between Aster's mom and Joey. Like, she goes down, they're talking, they're on the beach and things like that. So why not do that for Petal as well?
Gay subtext.
Yeah, I see that. There's a lot of Aster was just there as well.
Yeah, we didn't get a whole lot on him.
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of antagonistic for the purpose of having like an antagonist, you know. I don't know if that makes sense.
Like, I felt like Joey's just like asking him all these questions, and I honestly don't even remember any of his responses to any questions.
But also, it might just be more of like, you know, that divide, like, you don't know someone as good as you do, and that's kind of what this touches on to, like, you know, you don't know people as well as you think you do. And that was definitely the case with her and Aster. Like, she was about to marry this guy, and she was ready to just integrate herself into his life completely, and then she's like, what the heck is going on? Why didn't he tell me any of this? Because he was trying to stay sober. He was trying to, I guess, like, just avoid everything about his family completely, telling her, like, oh, you'll fit in, they'll love you, don't worry, you don't need any more context.
Like, he was like, we just have to
dismissive
show,
of everything.
yeah, we just have to show up and that's it, bro.
Yeah.
No, it's literally a whole freaking.
Yeah, it's
And then
ridiculous.
in the end, when she tries leaving him, and then he's like, we're all over the world. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we're not just on this estate. Like, there's powerful people all over the planet who are cannibals.
Yep. I would have liked more. I would have liked more.
Oh yeah, they could have.
5 issues wasn't enough.
Yeah, they could have dragged this out.
Like, maybe they can do like a prequel series, like that kind of
Yeah.
delves into how this started.
Yeah, that'd be
what
cool.
happened.
That'd be cool.
And then maybe end it with like Joey's mom setting up the contracts and then kind of leading into, I don't know.
I don't know, but like, okay, so the way it ended in the way that the help, Joey convinces the help, like, hey, we can outnumber them, basically, the rich.
And they revolt.
And then, they revolt. And then they end up eating the rich, literally.
Which I kind of dig. I dug that, you know, mutiny, have the underdogs rise up, take over. It's still morally, you know, but
Well, they were forced, you know. They were
Yeah.
these individuals that entered the contracts to help. They I don't know if the wealthy individuals like Aster's dad and mom, they selected individuals that they knew were in precarious situations, like
Ooh,
because of their
that's
health or because of,
true.
you know, they, for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Because we find out that Petal has like very difficult
Many
medical
illnesses.
problems. Yeah. And she's like, no, I would rather like not live in pain. And so, you know, it's all good, you know? So, but then also too, like they revolt. So is Pedro gonna die now? Like,
I know. She still needs her
she
health
still needs her
insurance.
health insurance.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, do they have a way of like just making sure like her things are? Because I doubt they're gonna be like, oh, by the way, the rich people are dead, so go ahead and cancel that. Like maybe it's just one of those things where it's ongoing. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
I mean, the money's got to come from somewhere.
So I'm looking at the comic strip right here. I think it's the last issue, but they show I guess they show a factory.
Yeah, the bodies.
And they have bodies. I don't know.
Yeah, like the butcher style.
Yeah, like they have bodies butcher style. I thought that was really cool. I mean, I freaking love the show Hannibal on NBC. I wish they didn't cancel it, but it gives me that kind of vibe. It's like so like dark and like
that one stood out to me too.
You know,
the little frame.
Yeah, and that they have like truck drivers and delivery people that bring the human carne, you know, and it doesn't seem like they're like. It doesn't seem like the wealthy individuals that do eat people. They don't necessarily like prepare the food in like a nice manner or like into nice dishes, because like right, didn't they just like freaking sear the carne on a barbecue? And
look like a steak.
That can't be good.
They had maybe like one broccoli on the side. I don't know. From the pictures of what I remember.
Right. So they do have fancy dinners, and I assume that's human meat. But then when they did the rich, I guess the tradition that they do, the ritual with one of the individuals, Aster's dad just went off and chased him down.
Oh, and then bites him.
There was a barbecue and a fire, and
he just carries a knife with him.
Hey,
he just has a dang knife with him. So if you learn anything from this book,
does insatiable hunger mean nothing to you? You gotta be ready.
Like he just, oh my goodness, he was like, oh, okay, time to kill you.
Time to kill you.
My God, but yeah, that was.
Oh yeah, because when he tried killing Joey,
and then the other servant lady who was like, nope, I need to relocate.
Yeah,
and then he was like,
whoosh. There's a servant lady who tries leaving, but they're like, you're not gonna leave.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Also, too, like, why would you like? If I was a rich person that was a cannibal, why would I want unhealthy people? I guess it doesn't matter.
That's true.
I mean, if they're staying healthy while they're in your care.
It also states too in the comic that I guess other wealthy individuals do it differently. But why would you want someone who's sick? You know, like why would you want to eat someone who's sick? I guess it doesn't matter. That hunger is just so hungry.
The
craving.
So hungry.
The craving, yeah. But I'd like to end it, if y'all don't have anything other to say, what would y'all recommend Eat the Rich to someone who wants to get into like horror comics? What do y'all think the main takeaway or lesson is from the story?
I would definitely recommend it to someone who wants to get into horror comics. I think it's definitely, like Ruby mentioned, it's definitely a great gateway into it.
Mm-hmm.
And my takeaway is that people's moralities are varied as heck.
Varied as heck.
Right.
I would recommend it too. I even, because I was reading it while we had some downtime at work, and Roberto, one of our coworkers, I recommended it to him. I was like, oh yeah, we're reading this. And he's like, oh yeah, I was going to read it. Or I was reading it, whatever. And then so I was hearing his reactions while he was reading it because it was that short. And it was fun. I was like, oh yeah, I know what part you're at. Or I know what's happening. I was like, just keep reading. So it's fun. It's a good read. Like, won't take up more than an hour of your time.
Yeah, definitely not more than an hour. And it's available on Cloud Library and Hoopla. I hope that there's a type of prequel or something like that. But yeah, with that, we can probably get into the next segment already.
And we will be back after these messages.
Our next book for Libros and Libations is Loose at Midnight by Marisol Cortez, a local author with the story taking place here in San Antonio. Be sure to check out the book on Hoopla and Cloud Library. Make sure to join us September 11th at 6 p.m. at the Burleson Yard Garden located at 430 Austin Street here in San Antonio. We hope to see you there.
And now we're back.
Cool. As we mentioned, the next segment is going to be some back to school talk, specifically about books that made an impression on us during our time in the grade school system. So with that, who would like to go first?
The one that I always I mean, there's other books that I really enjoyed reading while in school, but the one that for some reason just always stood out to me was Bless Me Ultima. I think I read it my freshman year of high school. It just left such an impression because I just felt the way it was written was super like descriptive and you like almost relatable in a way too, because it does dabble in like the Hispanic culture about the little boys who were growing up Catholic, and then there's a witch involved, all that stuff. So it was like my first time reading something that I closely related to, so that's why it stood out to me the most. And I haven't seen the movie. I think they came out with a movie for it too. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I recommend it. It's a fun read too.
Nice. Rosanna?
So there's probably a couple, but one of the ones that absolutely since elementary was A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
I
classic.
absolutely love that book. I've reread it so many times, even as an adult. It's so good. I'll be honest, as a kid, some of the themes did go over my head, like the themes of kind of Christianity and because to me it was just like basic good versus evil, but it definitely goes a lot more in depth. And I enjoyed it so much. Like it's probably like a comfort read at this point. The movie that came out, not that great, I'll be honest.
Really?
The one a couple
Most
years
recent
ago.
one, right?
It was. Yeah.
I know there's two versions. I know there's one from back in the day, and then there's one.
That's another one
that came out maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah. That in my opinion, that one was not that good, but.
That's unfortunate. Well, at least the book is good.
But the book is good. They have like graphic novel adaptation, which
that's cool.
that one was really cool too.
Nice.
So yeah, that definitely reminds me of better times. And then definitely middle school, high school, read a ton of manga. Can't tell you how much that was a big thing. But one book that I really really liked as well was in high school. I checked out Dracula from the library. And I loved it. Like it was told in a series of like diary entries and letters. And oh my goodness, for my little dark soul back then, that was just it. But it was good. And of course, with the whole Twilight phase and vampires everywhere, it was like, let's do the originals. And then this one was just, it was so good. It was a vibe. And also I was just a sucker for the movie. So I was like, okay, I love the movie. Let me read the book and see how they compare. And there's definitely differences. But so good.
Nice.
So good.
Did y'all read Twilight?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Girl, that Twilight phase hit hard in high school.
I'm so glad I grew up in this generation because that was such a fun era. I remember when the books came out, me and my sister would buy the books. I had no money. So she would read them first and then I would read them right after her. And then we would go watch the movies together too when they started coming out.
Nice.
That was such a memorable and fun era. So that's why every single fall, as soon as that first rainfall of the fall
just
hits,
Bella's lullaby starts playing.
You're gonna be at your house on your couch watching Twilight with the pumpkin spice latte.
Oh heck yeah!
In your hand.
That's
Were
all
you
I want.
Team Edward, Team Jacob?
I was Team Edward. I mean, it's funny how my boyfriend now's name's Edward. That
Lol.
has no correlation. That has no
Meant to be.
correlation, but
It's not a correlation relationship. It's a causal relationship.
but definitely Team Edward.
I didn't read the Twilight books. Middle school Israel was a hater, man. Oh man.
Of all things poppin'.
Of all things popular, like really, really. But I just remember my friends reading the Twilight books. They would carry them around. They would talk about them. I saw the movies recently, maybe like last year. I got into them pretty good. I don't know if I'll read the books.
You're not missing out.
I think the books are more cringy too.
Yeah?
Yeah, like because some of the descriptions, like I remember some of the outfits that were described that Bella wore, like a
Khaki.
long cargo khaki skirt. I'm like,
That's
girl,
epic.
all these guys are fighting over this girl. I don't know. It's funny.
That's awesome.
Basic Bella.
Wasn't Twilight based on 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh, 50 Shades of
Other
Grey
way.
is based off of
Yeah, because
Twilight.
50 Shades of Grey started off originally as a fanfic
Of Twilight.
of Twilight, and then it evolved
Gotcha.
into the abomination that it is
Oh my
now.
god, the
50
abomination.
50 Shades of Grey, that's probably my most memorable book in high school. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, boy.
So one of my favorite books that I read in high school was Speak. And in Speak, it's also a movie. Kristen Stewart plays the main character. It's by Laurie Anderson. The ebook and audiobook is available on Cloud Library. But man, I really like that book. It's about an individual who's entering high school. And so all of her friends, because of a party that Kristen Stewart's character attended and called the cops because she was essentially like, she was raped. At the party, she called the cops, but she didn't tell her friends, you know? And so now her friends, like, maybe it was like a group of 4 or 5 girls, including Kristen Stewart's character. They shunned her. And so throughout the book, it's in like diary kind of format a little bit.
That's cool.
And so we see it progress through like her freshman year. She's getting to know people, and then finally it culminates to where she's actually able to speak about what happened. But I really like that book, and I really like the movie. I feel like I watch it like maybe once every 6 months.
Oh wow.
I don't know why it always left a very strong impression on me. You know, it isn't necessarily because maybe I didn't go through anything like that, but I can understand, you know, not being able to speak, you know, about a subject or about something that happened. Why? The other book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. That's on ebook on Cloud Library, and then it's a movie as well, with Ezra Miller, Emma Watson, Logan Lerman, a couple other individuals. But the soundtracks are on Hoopla as well, the original score and then the soundtracks with the artists and things like that. But that deals with themes, this kind of the same thing of Speak, where Logan Lerman's character, his name's Charlie's unable to talk. He's very to himself. He's a wallflower. And so a group of seniors take him under his wing, and you find out at the end, spoiler, his aunt actually like molested him and things like that. She was like in a tragic car crash and died. And so people were thinking like, oh, it's because, you know, they had a strong relationship, you know, and he's unable to talk. Yeah, probably that too. But then also too that, you know, she was doing things that she shouldn't be doing to him, things like that. And so towards the end, he's able to come out of himself and things like that. But I really like both those books. I'm sure there's more. The Outsiders, Tangerine.
It blows my mind that Perks of Being a Wallflower, that was like an assignment, right?
Yeah,
like they
it
made
was an
y'all read
assignment,
it.
yeah,
That's crazy.
for my freshman year.
I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like that could be like a book that's easily on the banned list.
Yeah.
Like with all the subjects and themes that they talk about. So that blows my mind that I'm kind of proud that was assigned for y'all.
That's kind of more of a modern book, you know, instead of like
Yeah, definitely.
these not to diss, but like, you know, older books,
Yeah.
like, you know, Pride and Prejudice, The Pearl, things like that, you know.
All power to Lanier. Let me see. I think, what other books did I have? Oh, The Great Gatsby. Did y'all read The Great Gatsby in school?
Yeah, I read The Great Gatsby.
That left a lasting impression on me. I was obsessed with that book. And then the movie came out, and I was super hyped for the movie to come out.
That's with Tobey Maguire and
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
That was
We read,
iconic.
Yeah, we read it when that movie was coming out.
Yeah, literally me
Yeah.
too. Like, I think it was my senior year when we read the book, and then that movie was coming out that year. Like, it was just right back to back. So
I
it
don't
was
think I ever finished it. I just remember there's an eye and it's like symbolism.
with the
and-
book.
Yeah.
The book was like this big. It was so short.
Oh. Well, I mean, you know, I guess I read what I like.
I guess.
I want to say we were supposed to read it. I don't remember reading it.
Oh yeah, there's so many books we're
So,
supposed to read that I
I
don't.
don't-
I just cliff noted the heck out of it. But that one left a lasting impression.
The Giver was one that we read as
The
well.
Giver. Oh my goodness.
y'all really like that
The
one?
Giver. Did you ever read like the follow-ups to The Giver? Like it's a 4-part
Oh, yeah, you're
series
right.
now.
Oh,
It is.
really?
I didn't know
I
that.
didn't
No,
know
I
It
that.
didn't.
is. Yes. Oh my goodness. It's worth it. It's definitely worth looking into the sequels. I read them as a collective. But I forgot we read The Giver in middle school, and that was
yeah.
definitely a standout. Wow.
So middle school Israel, hater.
Hater.
So I hated that book. I don't know why I hated that book so much.
I know. To be honest, I did not read that book. I
Because
cliff
people
noted it.
loved it in my class. They loved it. They swore by it, and I was like, I guess whatever.
Whatever.
But no, I mean, I want to give it another read.
Same.
I like revisiting those books that we
Yeah,
read in
same.
class.
honestly,
I love-
honestly.
You know,
It
I
takes
like
me
it.
back. I love rereading old books from school.
Like, yeah, because specifically with The Giver, like, I remember reading it in middle school, and I was like, okay, this is something different. You know, I was like, it's cool, but then rereading it as an adult with like the
Yeah.
other parts to it,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this
Because you
is
really
crazy.
don't appreciate it when you're in that time. You're just like, oh, I have to read it by this
Yeah,
day.
yes,
I don't want
exactly.
to. I just want to play my video games.
Yeah.
Because like
Or
just
I wanna read other
recently,
things.
too, I reread the Odyssey and the Iliad. And I was like, man, this is a banger. Like, we should have talked about this more in school. It's just so iconic.
One of the go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the books that I think we read or we were supposed to read as a classic was Pride and Prejudice. But I love that book.
I love Pride and Prejudice.
I love Pride and Prejudice. I love the movie. I love the spin-off, the book,
The
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yes. Colin Firth, Supreme Mr. Darcy, just saying.
It's awesome. Like, it's such a good book, you know, and I definitely could not appreciate it as a teenager.
You know,
Even high school, because just the experiences that I have now, you know, as an individual, as an adult, it allows me to just appreciate. And I guess maybe there's like some type of like sunk cost fallacy where the more time you invest in something, the harder it is to break out of it. And so it could be that I just reread these books again and again and again. Sure, they could be good, but they're probably not that great. You know what I'm saying? Like, The Perks of Being a Wallflower is probably not that great.
that nostalgia though.
Yeah,
But that
it's super
nostalgia, you know, which I love. What were you going to say, Rosanna? Sorry.
No, just that I was recently made known from a friend of mine that there's a specific version of Pride and Prejudice where it's Pride and Prejudice, but every chapter there's one insert of Mr. Darcy vaping.
What?
What?
Like,
That's awesome. What is
yeah,
this?
it's just Pride and Prejudice and then Mr. Darcy the Vape King or
Oh
something
my
like that.
God.
And yeah, just every chapter has like one sentence that's inserted with Mr. Darcy specifically doing something vape related.
That's so funny.
People are so funny. They're so creative, right?
No, the one book that traumatized me in school was Of Mice and Men. I don't know if y'all read that, but that one traumatized. I still remember because it's such a short book, and when we were done with testing, tax testing, that's throwback.
That was back in the day for those of y'all that don't know.
Yeah, North Star.
I literally started and finished the book while I was waiting for the other classmates to finish testing.
Wow.
And I just like, oh my God, this book. Because have y'all read it?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. It's about like this, these two brothers, one is like skinnier and more, like acknowledgeable, you know, is really smart. And then he has a bigger brother, who is a little bit slower, doesn't understand too many things. So spoiler alert, he doesn't know his own strength and loves animals and is admiring an animal and loves it so much that he accidentally kills it. And then it just kind of goes in like to him with other people as well. I don't know. I really recommend it.
And then he becomes a serial killer.
And then it goes back to inside serial killers' minds with the FBI.
Yeah. You know how like there's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is Of Mice and Men and Serial Killers. But yeah, we could definitely go on and on
I
about
know.
We really, because now the more we
books
talk
and-
about it, the more
The
things
more
are
my
coming back,
brain is
and
just-
Yeah, like Harry
sparking
Potter.
things.
Like
So fun fact
I
about
was,
that,
yeah.
the Order of the Phoenix came out when I was in 6th grade. I carried that book around with me religiously, reread it so many times.
That's
That
a
thing
good
was like my
one.
comfort blanket in 6th grade. I had that thing just under my arm every dang period for most of that year. It was ridiculous that I did not leave it in a classroom somewhere.
I'm trying to think, like, because I definitely. So you know how I said I'm a hater, right?
We are aware.
I didn't necessarily read the books like Harry Potter when they were coming out. It wasn't until like maybe my senior year or even maybe in college already where I sat down and read the books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was maybe junior year. I don't know. But it wasn't only until later on because I remember they had the book fair and I made my parents buy me. I made them.
The set.
The Order of the Phoenix because it had just come out.
Yeah.
And I got a hat with it and everything.
What? That's cute.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
cool.
I'm a hater
And
now.
like I would draw like pictures of like his scar and Dementors and put it on my wall and
That's
things like
so
that.
cool.
And but I wouldn't read the books. I just like I guess the idea of like wizards and like I mean I was always into that stuff. But yeah, it wasn't only until later on that I read the books. Now, I mean, I love the books and I love the movies. If I had to choose one, book or movie, I would choose the movies.
Oh, heck yeah.
I the books.
Yeah, I would choose the
books.
movies.
Because
the
the
books are cool,
movies-
but the movies, the way the Warner Brothers logo just gets darker as each movie progresses, that is art.
I'm just like, the books don't glorify Harry in a way that the movies do, and I'm just like, Harry's a brat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Like, come
but-
on.
I guess he had. I mean, he has an excuse. His parents
has
got
an
killed by
yeah.
Lord Voldemort. You know.
Oh no, my parents got killed. Guess what? Neville's parents
I
are
know,
still
I was literally
alive
about
and
to say.
insane, and he's the sweetest
Neville-
ball of
Awesome.
sunshine that
Neville
gets so much crap.
Longbottom.
Like, get out of here, Harry.
Nah, Neville's a nerd.
This is turning into a whole different discussion, so we should probably wrap it up
whole
with our
different-
usual.
Yeah.
What are you currently reading, watching, or listening to?
Well, I'm currently reading Loose at Midnight, which is available on
Hoopla.
It's going pretty good. It takes place here in San Antonio. Very descriptive.
Yeah,
I like it.
Very.
But for the most part, I think that's the only thing I'm kind of reading right now. I wanted to start a book called Sea of Tranquility, but we might do that for the next Libras and Libations. Fingers
nice.
crossed.
Fingers
Hopefully.
crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
So
my
I might hold off on
recommendations
that.
are already out the book. Out the door.
Yeah, Ruby. Classic Ruby.
Classic. But so yeah, that Loose at Midnight I'm currently reading too, and I'm excited because we're gonna soon coming up with Libras and Libations and a book talk on it. But anyways, so other than reading that, I went to see the new Ninja Turtles movie.
Nice.
And I loved it so much. 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. I think it's better than Barbie. And I was a stan of Barbie.
Was not anymore.
Yikes.
She hates it now.
I mean, it was good, but now that I saw Ninja Turtles, I'm like, man, this was fun. Like it was a good time.
That was your Barbenheimer.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched them back to back. But it was so much fun. I recommend it so much. We have like almost all the Ninja Turtles comics on Hoopla. Especially, I don't know if I mentioned it before, The Last Ronin. They just are about to come out with a video game of The Last Ronin. And we have the comic book of The Last Ronin on Hoopla. So I recommend that. If you watch the movie and really into it, check out the darker side of the Ninja Turtles with The Last Ronin.
What about you, Rosanna? What have you been into?
So, of course, Loose at Midnight, because we are all currently reading that for Libras and Libations. I am just about done with this book I've been reading called Each of Us is a Desert by Mark Oshiro. It's so good. Like, it's one of those, like, I do not want to stop reading it. Like, just last night, I had to stop myself from reading it to go to the gym. And while I was at the gym, I was like, I can't wait to get back home and finish reading this book. It's been so good. The writing style and just the characters and everything. A minor thing about it. So it did one of those things where like you think the big bad is going to be like all the way through the book, and it's like, no, like the big bad like gets murked halfway through the book, and it's like, where do we go from here?
I like that.
I like that. That's interesting. But so there's that, and then I have been obsessively listening to the new Hozier album, Unreal Unearthed. It's so good. It's so good. He has a song in there he did with Brandy Carlisle. It's so good.
Oh, Take Me to Church? Nah, just kidding.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, it's so good. So there's that.
Very good.
Nice.
All right. Well, in that case, thanks for joining us on this episode of BiblioTech On Air. Once again, I'm Rosanna.
I'm Ruby.
And I'm Israel.
And we'll catch y'all on the next episode.